precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. Today is the Posan Full Moon Poya Day. The Mihinthala Lake House Aloo Kapoocha will be inaugurated by the President today. The Mahanayaka of the three sectors urges people to celebrate Posan festival in the households under the quarantine regulations. EU provides 48 million rupees in emergency relief to victims of cargo ship fire in Sri Lanka. 2,205 more persons were tested positive for the novel coronavirus yesterday. News overseas, Biden backs funding more police to fight crime wave. Sports, England won the first T20 international against Sri Lanka by 18 runs. New Zealand won the first ever Test World Cup, defeating India by 8 wickets. Local news in detail now. Today is Posan Full Moon Poya Day. The Posan Poya Day is a victory day for Sri Lanka. The Posan Day reminisces the advent of Arahant Mahinda to establish the sublime path which transformed Sri Lanka to a Dharma Deepa. The path of sublime truth is the priceless sacred treasure bestowed on the country by the Emperor Dharmashoka. The Mahanayaka of the three sectors urges people to celebrate Posan festival in their households, supporting the government's measure to control the spread of the virus. The Mihinthala Lake House Aloo Kapoocha, which is conducted as part of the State Vesak Festival centering on the historic Mihinthala Rajamahaviharaya, will be inaugurated by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today. The Mihinthala Lake House Aloo Kapoocha is being conducted for the 59th year in succession. This Pinkama is organized by the Associated Newspapers of Ceylon Limited under the guidance of Chief Incumbent of Mihinthala Rajamahaviharaya, Most Venerable Dr. Valaha Hangunuwave Dharmaratana Thera. Referring to the Posan religious activities, Venerable Dharmaratana Nayaka Thera says that in view of Posan, a week-long Ratana Sutta chanting started at the Madamalua on the 20th of June and would continue till the 27th of June with the objective of invoking the blessings of the Triple Gem and the deities for the eradication of COVID-19 pandemic in the country and the world. The Nayaka Thera requested Buddhist devotees to practice Arahat Mahinda commemoration religious observations, confining themselves to their homes and adhering to health guidelines. In response to serious oil and hazardous chemical spills triggered by the fire that broke out on a ship carrying hazardous substances in May, the European Union is directing €200,000 in humanitarian funding to provide crucial assistance. The aid will benefit 15,000 people who have been heavily affected by the disaster in the districts of Colombo, Galle, Gampaha, Kaluthara, Puttalam and Matara. Lanka Red Cross Society in delivering emergency relief assistance to those most affected, especially small-scale fishing communities, through the delivery of cash assistance. This will help meet the immediate needs of those whose day-to-day livelihoods have been impacted by the fishing ban implemented following the incident. The aid will also focus on supporting local authorities to clean hazardous and toxic materials along the country's west coast. Necessary training and materials such as personal protective equipment, goggles and boots will also be provided to volunteers involving in the cleaning activities. Special attention will be paid to the most vulnerable groups, including female-headed families, people with disabilities and the elderly. The Health Ministry says 820 more persons have been tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday, increasing the daily count of positive cases to 2,205. All new cases reported within the day have been associated with the New Year cluster. This brings the tally of confirmed infections of coronavirus reported in the country so far to 246,091. As many as 211,186 recoveries and 2,769 deaths have been confirmed in Sri Lanka since the outbreak of the pandemic last year. According to official data, more than 32,000 active cases are currently under medical care at designated hospitals and treatment centres. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. We continue with more stories here at home. The government says 78,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine will be received by the country next month. State Minister Professor Channaja Sumana said that the country is expected to get the vaccine within first 3 weeks of next month. He said that 26,000 doses will be brought down weekly for 3 weeks. State Pharmaceutical Corporation has purchased the stock of vaccine. It is the first consignment of vaccine that will be brought down to the country. The Met Department says that a red alert for thunder showers accompanied by severe lightning was issued for 7 districts. They said fairly heavy rainfall of more than 50 millimeters could be expected in some places in Western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Gol and Mathura districts. There may be thunder showers in Eastern and Uva provinces and in Mullaitivu and Vavuniya districts in the evening or night, they said. Accordingly, the 9 districts including Mullaitivu, Vavuniya, Trincomalee, Batticaloa, Ampara, Badulla and Monaragala have been alerted over the weather conditions. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize the damage caused by lightning. That's on local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
It has been reported that some government officials who did not report to service during the COVID travel restriction period have obtained transport allowance. Some executive officials are given many allowances, including for transport and vehicle as well. Many activities in the country were minimized during the past travel restriction period, but essential services continued. In many government organizations, officials obtained transport allowance even without reporting to duty. There are more than 1.5 million state sector employees, and around 5% of them are executives. They are receiving a transport allowance of more than 19,000 and 50,000 as a vehicle allowance as well. The government spends around 500 million rupees monthly, but some officials, while obtaining vehicle allowance and transport allowance, refrained to report to duty. At the same time, some officials reported to duty as usual without even getting any official transport facility or additional allowance.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watchlight, people in the area are facing immense difficulties due to dumping of garbage at several places on the road from Ahaliyogoda to Dehiyovita. They said that people travelling in vehicles from other areas throw garbage on the road. They said that all the relevant officials have been informed about the issue. No solution has been given so far. They request the relevant authorities to solve the problem as soon as possible. That's on Watchlight. Moving on to world news headlines. Biden backs funding more police to fight crime wave. Britney Spears speaks out against abusive conservatorship at hearing. Antivirus creator John McAfee found dead in prison cell. World news in detail. President Joe Biden has unveiled a plan that includes funding more police to combat a nationwide surge in homicides, which he blamed on lax gun control. He said officials in high-crime areas can hire more law enforcement personnel using coronavirus relief funding. Mr. Biden's crime-fighting strategy calls for curtailing rogue gun dealers and firearms trafficking. Republicans are depicting Mr. Biden's Democrats as weak on crime amid calls by left-wingers to defund the police. U.S. pop star Britney Spears has spoken out against her conservatorship at a hearing in Los Angeles. In a rare public testimony, the singer told a court her father controlled her 100,000% and he loved it. "I'm traumatized," she said, speaking remotely. "I just want my life back." Jamie Spears was granted control over his daughter's personal and business affairs in a court-ordered conservatorship in 2008. The order was originally granted after the star was hospitalized amid concerns over her mental health. Finally, on world news, antivirus software entrepreneur John McAfee has been found dead in a Barcelona prison cell hours after a Spanish court agreed to extradite him to the US to face tax evasion charges. The Catalan Justice Department said prison medics tried to resuscitate him but were not successful. It said in a statement that everything indicates McAfee took his own life. A controversial figure in the tech world, his company released the first commercial antivirus software. McAfee Virus Can helped to spark a multi-billion-dollar industry in the computer world and was eventually sold to technology giant Intel for more than $7.6 billion. That's on world news. Moving on to development news. Minister Chamal Rajapaksa says effective measures have been taken to procure new technical equipment to the meteorological department. A sum of 2,500 million Japanese yen will be spent on this equipment. This will be purchased by the end of 2024. That came to you on development news. And we now move on to sports news. England won the first T20 international against Sri Lanka by 18 runs. The match was played in Cardiff. Batting first, Sri Lanka scored 129 runs for the loss of 7 wickets at the allotted 20 overs. Dasun Shanaka scored 50 for Sri Lanka. In reply, England was able to hit the target score, losing only wickets and almost 3 overs to spare. In the meantime, New Zealand won the first ever Test World Cup, defeating India by 8 wickets. The match was played in Southampton, in England. That's on sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Ceylon Salt, which is the only producer of Artemia cis fish food in Sri Lanka, will be reinvesting heavily to increase their production. Ceylon Salt Company Hambantota chairman Nishantha Sandhabarana said that there is also a growing huge market for Artemia globally, as well as they hope to enter this market and for the first time bring in dollars to the Ceylon Salt coffers.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
3,000 houses will be built soon for middle-income earners, according to Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor National Policy Statement. The project is implemented on the instructions of the Prime Minister to meet the housing needs of the middle-income earners even amid the COVID pandemic. The project will be implemented at Urugodavatta, Bloomendal, Paliagoda, Kottava, Bodlaskamo, Malabe and Kandy.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, central, Sabragamo and southern provinces. Showers or thunder showers will occur in eastern and Uva provinces and in Mullaitivu and Vavuniya districts in the evening or night. Several spells of showers will occur in northwestern province. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in western and Sabragamo provinces and in Galle and Matara districts. General public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Back to the headlines. Today is the Poson Full Moon Poya Day. The Mihinthala Lake House Aloo Kapoocha will be inaugurated by the President today. The Mahanayaka of the three sectors urges people to celebrate Poson festival in the households under quarantine regulations. EU provides 48 million rupees in emergency relief to victims of cargo ship fire in Sri Lanka. 2,205 more persons were tested positive for the novel coronavirus yesterday. In news overseas, Biden backs funding more police to fight crime wave. Sports news, England won the first T20 international against Sri Lanka by 18 runs, and New Zealand won the first ever Test World Cup, defeating India by 8 wickets. With that, we conclude the morning bulletin of news.